All right, welcome everybody to the Kechi City Council meeting. It is September 11, 2025, and we'll go ahead and get started. Debbie, could you please call roll?
Paul Dwyer.
Here.
Karen Wiederstein.
Here.
David Aldridge.
Here.
Todd Hedson.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum. If everyone could please stand for the pledge. After the pledge, Mr. Hedstrom would like to say a few words, and then we will do a moment of silence for 9/11 and all the other activities that have been going on recently. Thank you. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I just ask that we have a moment of silent prayer for the victims on that 9/11 and also for Charlie Kirk and his family. Been a rough couple days. Thank you.
We move on to approving tonight's agenda. Council, any questions about tonight's agenda? Matt, do we have an executive session? So we
No,
can
ma'am.
strike item 11. Council, any other questions? All right, seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
I move we approve the agenda as written, starting item 11, executive session.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Todd, second by Karen. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carries 4-0. Moving on to approving the consent agenda. Council, any questions about the consent agenda?
No.
Seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second? Second. I have a motion by Karen, second by Kendra. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carries 4-0. Moving on to the communication section. Kechi civic groups or committees. Do we have any civic groups or committees here to speak this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on to Kechi good news. Council, any Kechi good news? Staff, any Kechi good news?
We got new blinds.
They look very nice.
Yeah, the brown ones that used to be in here were throughout the whole facility, and they've been here since the building was built. They were starting to flake, and little white stuff was flaking off of them, the top layer, I guess, and we couldn't clean them anymore. Some of them were broken, so we got a little update today, and I must say it makes it much brighter in here. So we really like it, yeah. That's the best news of the day.
So I wanted to, so my Kechi good news is that Chief Moore was elected the president of the Kansas Peace Officer Association. He's previously been, the vice chair? I don't know, vice president?
Or
Is that-
secretary or something.
Yeah. He's held many positions in that organization, but I think vice chair was the last, or vice president, was the last one for that organization until now. So congratulations to him and his family. I know he's been, doing a lot of leadership training and, represents us well in everything he does, so we greatly appreciate him. Wish we could, he was here to be able to do that, but I know he's been doing training, so I'm sure he would like to go home. Any other Kechi good news? I've been out of town for a long time, so.
Me too.
You too, it happens. All right, I will close Kechi good news and move on to public comment. Debbie, do we have anyone for public comment this evening? And then for public comment, we will go ahead and close public comment and move on to the R&R. Good evening. I now call to order the public hearing to consider exceeding the revenue neutral rate for the city of Kechi, Kansas. As required by Kansas statute, the revenue neutral rate has been calculated at 34.596 mils. The budget proposed by this governing body would exceed that rate. This public hearing is being held to allow all interested taxpayers the opportunity to provide oral testimony. At this time, I invite any member of the public who wishes to speak on this matter to come forward. I will now ask for a motion and a second.
Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry.
we did have a comment.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
I was waiting for somebody to come up, sorry. You will have 3 minutes, and I will pull it up on my ticker.
On here it says 5 minutes. Just
That's-
the rest and-
It should have said public comment. I can change it to 5 if it
No,
says
it's
5.
fine, I go ahead probably 2
No,
minutes.
well, if it says it on the sheet, I want to go with the 5 minutes, so I apologize, thank you. Go ahead.
So I think personally, I think it's a little misleading when you say that we're gonna be at 36 mil. So it makes us feel like our taxes aren't going to be raised, or even at 34, where they are going to be raised because our property values have gone up. So you are collecting more money to spend. So I think it's misleading when you guys sit up here and go, well, we're not raising the mill. Technically, you're not, but our taxes are being increased. And I just think that's being a little deceitful when you're saying that. You should, maybe say, okay, we're keeping it 36, but our budget is gonna increase by, what, $2 or $3 million? That's not keeping it the same. So, I don't understand why you guys are continuing to add more police officers. We don't need that many for our small town, and that is a budget that could be cut. We don't need to have a new vehicle for every year for the next 3 years. We didn't need a new pickup truck and a trailer. This is the taxpayers' money, and I wish you guys would look at it like that. Sometimes I just feel like you guys sit up there and you're like, oh, we're keeping your mill level the same. Technically you are, but you're collecting more money and spending it.
Before I move on, any others? I want to make sure I leave that. All right. I will now ask for a motion and a second to adopt the resolution to exceed the revenue neutral rate as presented.
I move we adopt resolution 25-791 to exceed the revenue neutral rate as presented and authorize the mayor to sign.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Clerk, please call the roll for the vote.
Paul Dwyer,
We'll say aye.
Aye.
Or nay.
Karen Hagerstein,
Aye.
Peter Baldridge. Aye. Todd Hagstrom,
Aye.
Do I say 5-0 or 4-0? Okay, 4-0. There being no further business on this item, I will now close the public hearing. So now it's the resolution? Okay.
No, we
So-
just did the
Okay,
resolution.
That's
so
what I
now
want to make
it's-
sure.
Yeah, now it's the public hearing for the budget.
Budget, okay.
Yes.
So I'll now open the public hearing for the fiscal year 2026 budget. Do I have any for the public? And it says 5 minutes, doesn't it? Correct?
Jenny here.
Oh, I just want to make sure it says 5
Yes, it
so I
does.
can pull it up. Okay, 5 minutes, Jen.
Ready? Joni Harris, 109 West Chippewa Street, Madam Mayor, members of the council. I come before you tonight as a constituent, a taxpayer, and your neighbor. You are elected to represent and serve myself and all people in the city of Kechi. It's time for civil discourse to begin. I've included the definition in the packet for us all. Now a few budget observations. 1% sales tax. For accountability, I want to see that all those tax dollars are only being used for the intersection project. This is what the people voted for. $161,797 estimated additional dollars added to the law enforcement budget in 2025, which I have been told is the will of the governing body. But these requests were not brought before the council in a public meeting, presented, and the council voting on the request. This is an accountability and transparency issue, even if there is budget authority and no increased overall spending within the general budget occurred. This value is approximately 4.5 mils. I gave you two spreadsheets, the approved 2025 budget from the August 22nd, 2024 City Council meeting and the proposed 2026 budget, which you will likely adopt tonight. August 2024, you adopted the proposed budget indicating a January 1 cash balance of $1,033,781 for 2025. Before you today, as you go through the process to approve the proposed 2026 budget, it shows the January 1 cash balance for 2025 is now only estimated to be $548,340. Matt Wan first mentioned the lowering of the beginning cash balance at the April 24, 2025 council meeting. Where was $485,441 needed that didn't remain in the beginning cash balance for 2025? You've accepted Matt Wan indicating Kechi will change from 180 days of reserve operating funds to only 90 days on January 1 of each year. Why is this risk the right choice for our small town of Kechi? Please note, the actual total receipts and total resources available for 2024 came in higher than estimated, $186,778 and $259,289 over, respectively. The city and governing body continue to choose increased spending, but greatly lack in accountability and transparency. We, the people of Kechi, should see fiscal responsibility of all public dollars, and even a flat mill levy increases the property taxes. Therefore, without measures in place, I ask the council not to approve the significant budget authority added to the 2026 budget. I'll stand for any questions or comments. Thank you.
I will close the public, the budget hearing for fiscal year 2026. Item 7D, fiscal year 2026 budget presentation.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Council, before you tonight is our proposed budget, which reflects a flat mill levy of 36.790 mils. It is the same mill levy that we had last year. So as we went through this budget process, which we've had plenty of public opportunity for public input, we've had several workshops, we've talked about it numerous times here at different council meetings, and at one of those council meetings we developed the council priorities, which we talked about several months ago. And these priorities, specifically the core services, are what we built this budget around. This information was gathered from you as the council, people in the community that you talked to, and other input that we had from community members. So just a quick overview of the 2026 budget that's being proposed. Those core services that we focused on that were priorities for the council were dedicating 4 mills to streets, which is the same thing we did last year. Dedicating 2 mills to the parks, which is the same thing we did last year. We need to purchase a patrol car because they wear out. When you drive them all the time, they simply wear out. We need a new public works truck. They have one that's very aged and we need a new one. The budget includes things for operations, for staffing, for wages, for annual merit increases, annual cost of living, those costs that are built in each year to the budget. And then of course we prioritize our utilities and want to work on increasing those utility reserve funds. But our main priority that we told you at the beginning of this process was to maintain the lowest mill levy possible. And that's what we have continued to do. So I want to take a minute and talk about the things that we don't talk about in the budget. The things that make this city run, the things, we always talk about the big ticket items, but the small things play into our budget more than those big ticket items do. This is just a list of the many, many things that we have to consider while developing the budget for the city. IT support. We have computers go down. We had a lightning strike this year. Some of those are hard to plan for. That's where our reserve funds come in. As you can see, there's cords strung all over the floor here tonight from that lightning strike while we wait to get those things repaired. Fuel for equipment. we have to buy fuel for not only vehicles, lawnmowers, weed eaters, equipment the public works uses, so we have to take that into consideration. Printer ink, the many, many copies that we make, not only for what we do here at City Hall, for council, for requests we get from the public, for documents, for the park board, for other things that go on here at City Hall, it takes a lot of ink and we spend a lot of money on that each year. Postage. Every letter we send out, every utility bill we send out has postage on it. We spend roughly $1,000 sending utility bills out every month. You can see how quickly that adds up. Something that's very important to take into consideration. City flags. We fly flags on the flagpole out there. The flags aren't cheap. We don't go down to the dollar store and buy them. We buy flags that last, that look good out there, but we do go through those. That's an expense we have to account for. First aid supplies. We have to keep our people safe. Public Works. Those guys are out there doing dangerous things all the time. They get cut. They get nicked. They get poison ivy. They get whatever. We have to have first aid supplies on hand for them. And snow and ice removal. The one thing that is the hardest to budget for is your snow and ice removal. All the gravel, the equipment, the brine, the salt for the brine, the stuff to spray it. Some years we may not have any snow, other years we may have a lot of ice and snow, so we have to account for that in our budget. So I want you to remember those things as you decide on this budget tonight, because we've only talked about the big things in the budget, but we oftentimes forget about these small things that really make things tick and the city operate. And lastly, it is a fact that Kechi has the lowest property tax rates of small cities in Kansas, with the exception of Biola. Okay, but Biola is about 120 people. It's very, very small. They don't have a police department. They don't have a water system. They don't have any of that. So it's hard to compare any city to Biola.
Matt?
Yes.
You mean Sedgwick County?
What's that?
Did you mean Sedgwick County?
What did I say?
State of Kansas.
Oh, I think we're probably one of the lowest in the state of Kansas too, in Sedgwick County. I'm sorry. Yeah. So as you can see, Kechi, as compared to Valley Center, we are almost 17 mills lower than Valley Center. Andover, 6 mills lower. Park City, 6 mills lower. Bel Air, 4 mills lower. Mays, 6 mills lower. Goddard, 2 mills lower. Derby, 8 mills lower. Mulvane, we're 20 mills lower than Mulvane. And in Hayesville, we're 3. Somebody just told me today that Newton levies 72 mills worth of property taxes up there.
Sedgwick says 74.
Yeah, they're high too. So we're very fortunate to be here in Kechi. And I think it's important to point out that the past 5 years or so, we have maintained a flat mill levy. We do more with less people. And you can see in the slide that I had before, all the little things we do in this city that we do with essentially these people in the room, minus Public Works and Police. But we do a lot with fewer people. We are very conservative, we are very efficient, and we try to have a shoestring budget is what we try to have. So the budget that you're getting tonight reflects what we promised you we would do. It maintains that 36.79 mills. And Matt Long will go over some of the details of that budget, answer any questions you have, and then we will have the budget ordinance after that. Any questions for me?
Matt, do you know what our, I seem to remember our increase in valuation was around 6%? Was that
Yes.
correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was. And you know, we're aware of that as well. We are aware that valuations of properties throughout the state have increased. It is nothing specific to Kechi. It is throughout the state. So every one of these cities that have higher mill levies than we do, it affects them just the same.
I actually watched Bel Air's council meeting where they approved their budget, and I think their valuation increased over 15%.
They had a lot of growth.
to your point, both of those things weigh into that, so they
Yeah,
were
but their
able to,
population's bigger.
on percentage.
Any other questions?
Anything for the dog?
All right, so this is very similar to the budget hearing notice that went out. The only difference is that in that budget hearing notice, we gave you the flexibility to adopt a budget of 39 mils instead of 36, but this has been returned down to that 36.79 amount as you requested. I will say yes, there is I have a different methodology of budgeting that's been used here in the past. I don't believe it's necessary to carry a full carryover fund balance of 180 days when you're gonna get 180 days worth of your general fund revenue in third week of January. I think you're better off using additional monies from your general fund balance, either used in transfers to your reserve fund, so you're able to use money, that excess fund balance if you wish to use for things like capital expenditures that may not take place in the current year. So say you put in the budget $100,000 for police and there's none available, so you don't actually buy it until, pay for it until January of the budget year following your the budget year. Now, you wouldn't be able to spend it in that following year. It would just be held as fund balance. You couldn't spend it again until you levied an additional mills to spend that money. Whereas if you transfer that out and put it into reserves, those funds are not required to have an adopted budget. They're reserves. It's based on you can spend what you have as cash in those funds, and that's the purpose of that. I did not participate beyond sort of an overview of how the budget was adopted last year. We hired officially through Baker Tilly, I believe after you had already adopted before budget was submitted to the state. I helped prepare that document, but I can't speak to the methodology that adopted that much of a mill levy. I will say that based on your current expenditures this year, you're well within your budget authority. You have not exceeded it. You had changes in staffing here that have not required you to spend money that in the departments within general fund that it was originally budgeted to. So you were able to spend that in other departments that had a greater need to use those funds. You budget based on fund, not on department. That's somewhat of a confusing subject when you don't understand that your general fund consists of your entire police department, and then your public works department is split across multiple funds. So again, it's a little bit different there because yes, you're still budgeting by fund in that case, but it's the 3 or 4 departments are included in that fund for some of your general operating expenses, not just your utility specific expenses. So you've got some administrative costs coming out of all those funds, which is a good thing. Your utility funds are your money making funds. They're going to bring in more revenue than your general fund is, just because everybody pays basically what they use, and it's not necessarily going to it's not necessarily going to be limited to a smaller revenue source like your general fund, especially for property taxes. Also, with your utility funds, remember, you're essentially with those funds not only paying for your operations, but you're paying to put money aside to use on future capital needs. So we talking about utility systems in particular. Those are very costly improvements that will need to be made, whether it's tearing out 100-year-old sewer pipes or water lines, or if it's building new connections to a new development in town, or you're having to upsize a service to a new building or things like that. You get some of those costs recouped through your, for new stuff especially, you get some of those costs recouped from, your, you know, tap fees and things like that, but that's not always gonna pay for those type of upgrades. So it's important to really put a focus on putting money into reserve, not just for, like, you know, some of your utilities runs have been put into reserve, it looks like to pay for your, improvements through, your debt service fees, but it's also a good idea to set some money aside for, you know, things that you're not planning to issue debt for when you have a water leak, you have a gas leak or something like that, it's gonna require you to remove so many, cubic, yards of dirt in an emergency situation, or have somebody come in to do that in an emergency situation, and you're gonna need cash on hand for that. And so really the focus of the budget has been to make sure that not only are all of your operating needs met, not only are your operating needs met, that the council specifically has requested to be the focus of your operations, but also to ensure that your, you know, capital needs are also there as well. I think in the time that I've been working here, I've seen a great improvement in the way that your capital budgeting is done, and that's coming from Matt and his staff. They're really putting you in a good place. The way I have budgeted is I've included in the budget most of your, for most of your operating funds, most of that fund balance has been put into the actual budget as expenditure authority, not planning to spend it, and not gonna be part of your, when it goes into your, financial system when the new budget's adopted. It's not gonna go in as an expense line, it's gonna go in as a fund balance line. So you'll be able to, you know, we're budgeting that full amount to give you the opportunity to spend that money if you need it, but as time goes on and we're able to put more into those reserve funds, especially water is the one that primarily thinking of. As we're able to put more money into those reserves, you won't need to budget your full fund balance. The way I budget it gives you the flexibility to do so. That includes $250,000 in your general fund, again, too, that's included as an expenditure in the budget, although it's not specifically reserved for anything. I call it and when I worked for another city, I called it a capital outlay reserve line. And again, it was used typically for smaller scale projects, smaller scale capital type purchases that would not necessarily warrant using your dedicated reserve funds or warrant issuing debt for. You know, things like when, you know, the one I can remember off the top of my head was I can remember the radio upgrade or an upgrade to the data transfer that police use in the vehicles. You know, it was a high dollar item. It was, you know, tens of thousands of dollars that we hadn't budgeted for, but you know, police tend to have the most costly operating stuff for general fund operations especially. And so we needed to pay for it. And it was just, you know, we built that in every year into the budget that we had the flexibility to do that. So that's been my philosophy with your budget. And it may not be the way it's been done before, but I think, you know, I've basically been working off directions from Matt and you through him. And I think that we've provided a budget that not only is going to fund all of your operations, but also put you in a good position to operate more efficiently going forward.
And council, I will add to that on those expenditures, budgeting for those expenditures. That does not give staff a blank check to spend whatever they want. We still have purchasing policies within the city, which limits employees, department heads, and myself to certain limits. So anything above those limits, those kind of daily operating limits, have to come to council for approval and have to be approved.
Yeah, the budget that you are currently operating in was approved around this time last year. That gave you the ability to spend that total amount of fund per fund in that process. Your staff is still held to the regular approvals for spending that exceed their individual limits, and that includes things like personnel costs, etc. So, you know, I don't see any malfeasance or anything on anybody's part here because we're still operating within the budget this council adopted. We're still making payments based on what this council approves. You guys review every accounts payable that goes out. You would notice if we were overspending. The priority for spending on law enforcement was made by the council, I'm assuming based on what you've heard from your community, and that's what's been, it was already the largest cost center within the general fund. It's just that, you know, police expenditures go up, and keeping a operating fleet of, operating equipment up to the standard that is, necessary for a police department is not inexpensive. So,
Council, any questions about the budget?
I've also, I'm sorry,
No, you're fine.
I also provided a copy of the, budget certificate. That's what will be submitted to the state. We need signatures from, assuming it passes, signatures for everyone who approves it, 2 copies of that.
Thank you. Looking at our attorney, when I ask for a motion, same method, but roll call vote, correct? Or is there a specific something they have to do?
Maybe you can close the hearing. And then,
That I closed the hearing already.
oh, yeah, there.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll say.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't think it has to be roll call. It does not have to be.
Does not have to be roll call. Okay. All right, I would entertain a motion for the budget ordinance number 1856-25.
I move we approve budget ordinance 1856-25.
Have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Todd, second by Karen. All in favor say aye. Carries 4-0. Moving on to old business, we have no old business. Moving on to council reports. I have a council report. Does any other council member have a report?
I have a brief report from the park board. We met Monday night and discussed the playground equipment, and NEVA will be gathering more information from Playwide Design, and will also, NEVA will also bring forward a presentation to the council, so there will be more in detail information coming. And then there will be a park volunteer day on September 27th from 8 to 11, and the community is invited to come volunteer, and you don't have to stay for the whole 3 hours. You can come when you have time and leave when you need to leave. And I believe there's be some giveaways during that, so yeah, come and see what you can do to participate as a volunteer, and maybe there's something to take away.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. Any other council members have a report? All right, I've got my mini report. So the last few days I've been at a leadership training in Topeka, leadership and supervisory issues training. It's a 3-day training, talk about crucial conversations, difficult conflict management styles, and a lot more. It was a good refresher because a lot of it was KLC training, but that's okay because who doesn't need more KLC training? And just how to handle different situations and different leadership roles throughout not only the state but throughout any organization that you would hold a leadership role in, and reminding us that anybody can be a leader. Authority is different than leader, so remembering that and how we go out and present ourselves. Items I worked on, attended meetings, signed checks, discussed Facebook posts, the normal stuff. It's all on my report. Kechi, so my announcements are the Kechi Farmers Markets are still on Thursdays from 4 to 6:30, and if you're interested in being a vendor, please contact the Kechi Chamber of Commerce. The last farmers market is the last week in September, so just a heads up, it is coming to an end for the year, so go get all your fun stuff before it's over. The Arts Council is also participating in the Adopt a Cause fundraiser, where you have a chance to win one of 2 cars. Tickets are $10 each, and they're available for purchase at Gino's or at Cindy's Quilt Shop. Tickets are on sale until November 17th, and the drawing with the 5 finalists is on December 17th. So a little bit of a wait between the 2, but if you have questions, please reach out to the Arts Council. That's my report. Moving on to staff reports, it's the first part of the month, so not
Yeah,
everybody's
we
here.
don't have individual staff reports,
Yep.
but as always, I would like to thank all of our staff here at the city, from Public Works, who's not here tonight. They gotta take a break, police department gotta take a break, they will all be here next month. Specifically Debbie and Chris, as we've gone through the budget season, I know I've leaned on them a lot for information, and it's a busy time of year, and on top of everything else that they do, they get that information to me very, very quickly, which is very, very helpful. So I do wanna thank council for all of your comments and questions throughout the budget process. I have spoke hours and hours and hours to each council member combined. So all of you asked very good questions, know exactly where the budget is, gives us staff great direction on what you want to see, what you hear from the community, and that's what helps drive a good budget like this. I also want to thank Matt Long. Matt and I have been working together over the last 6 months, talking to each other sometimes daily going through this, and I'm sure he probably cringes when he sees an email from me or sees the phone ring, but he's an invaluable resource to the city and has put together a very good budget, listening to what our needs are, what our requests were, and our desire to keep our levy as low as we possibly can. So, Kendra's here tonight in place of Andrew, but Andrew will be back next week, so we appreciate her.
And I'd like to thank all 4 of you. You guys have provided some very good information. Matt, I've also spot checked a couple of other municipalities and watched their process, and we are right in line with what everybody else is doing and the same information. And I appreciate that we're all being consistent, meeting the requirements, and I think it's much improved.
Thank you. We appreciate that, and every year, we take our lessons learned from the previous year, and we try to make things better. So we provided a lot more information this year and try to make everything as public and transparent as possible through talking in public meetings, posting it on the website, providing the information to anybody who requests it, and we will take what we learned this year and try to make it better next year. So our goal is to work for you as the council who works for the public and take forward the request from them.
Your staff makes it easy, honestly. I know Deb and Chris have stepped into larger roles this year, and they've just, every time I need anything, it's right there. I'm not ready to necessarily call Matt a rookie budget city manager, but he's his level of professionalism in conducting the budget has been, not necessarily better than every other city manager I work for, but at least at the same level. He knows what he's doing. He makes this a lot really easy for me. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that compliment. I'm sure Matt appreciates it, but it's great to hear. Our staff does a great job. We know you do a great job, but it's great to hear from us.
Yep, Kechi's a good place. We're moving forward. We're doing good things, and I'm excited for this next year.
Awesome. The last thing on the agenda is adjournment, so I would have, oh, yeah, of
Before
course.
you all leave, I need signatures from everyone.
Yeah, don't leave.
We're gonna hold you hostage.
Happens. Okay, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second. I have a motion by Paul, second by Karen.